Perfect. So I know tough loss today, but in general, besides this, how's the last 2 weeks been with the start of the season, everything kicking off? Like outside of the games themselves, how have everything been?
I think the mentality has been pretty good. I mean, even though we're 0-3, I think, things are still fine, and we kind of know our problems of like what we need to work on. So it's not like things are on fire.
No. Is it what's it like being in the position where obviously people were expecting Ignar to eventually come in at some point, and you, to a certain extent, you're kind of put in that spot to just be the fill man for the time being. What's it like being in that role? Because it's not something that I feel like a lot of people get the chance to relate to.
I think it depends. So like if you're losing, right, it feels pretty bad. Like, oh, am I the problem? If you're winning, then it's like you kind of just ride it out and it feels great. So we're losing, so it feels bad because like, oh, what if Agar was here? Like, would we be winning these games? Is always the question that people ask. Um, and that's like a tough spot to be in. But if I think about it, like, um, yeah, you just gotta make do with what you have, honestly. And sometimes like it doesn't work out, sometimes it works. So
No. Do you have any goals for yourself this split? Whether that's in the LCS, whether that's in academy, like anything in general. Like what's when you look back at 2023, 11 months from now, what do you want to be able to look back and say that you did?
I mean, I'm just subbing in for like honestly, I thought I was just subbing in for like a week, but now we're at week 2. Like I meant like a week of scrims, not even like
Yeah.
a week of LCS. So it's kind of been extended. Um, but yeah, I would be normally like streaming around this time and looking to either come back in like summer or the following year. Um, I definitely think I'm still good enough to compete. I felt like I had a really good year when I did come back. Um, so yeah, I'm still confident in myself.
Is there anybody in the LCS that's really impressed you so far from the support talent or just in general?
I think it's just like the imports. So obviously, I think Prince is really good. Anytime like a top tier talent comes over from Korea or actually or like EU,
No.
they usually have a very good first split, and then the NA kind of kicks in and they get worse a lot of the times. So sometimes like they keep their form, other times um, they kind of fall off. But I think Prince is really good. Um, Other than that, I mean, I think Berserker is still really good.
I'm curious because Busio seems like he's following a very similar path to how you came up into the LCS as this great challenger, solo queue player that makes a name for themselves that comes in and now is weirdly enough playing alongside the same AD carry that you played with whenever you started your career on TSM. Do you have
Mhm.
any advice to him as he's starting his career and things that he should be looking to do in his first split in his first year going forward?
Uh, I mean, besides from like working hard and honestly, it's just like live in the moment. When you're young, like everything's kind of, I don't know, in like nicely colored glasses. Is a rose tinted? Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you just take every day like for what it is, and when you look back, sometimes like if you're older like me, you kind of miss those moments back in the day. Like you look fondly upon those. So it's not to say like my life's bad now. I'm just saying like back in the day, like when you're young, like everything's fresh. Maybe like you win your first LCS game. Like it's a very nice feeling.
How old are
Now
you
I'm like,
again?
jaded. I'm like 26, so I'm not
Okay,
like
I'm
old.
I'm 28, so
Yeah,
it's
I'm not like old, but for like League, I think
yeah,
I'm like
it you
I'm
you
up
hit you hit
there.
25 and immediately like
Yeah,
you're a little bit of an elder in the room regardless of whether you want to accept the title or not.
yeah. I think like people always talk about age here, but I feel like in Korea they don't. There's like players that have been playing for a long time, and no one really cares. Like Deft has been Deft is 26, Faker's 26. Obviously, they're like legends, so
Yeah.
I guess people don't care as much. But like, if you're playing poorly and you're old, oftentimes people point that as like it's because he's old. Yeah.
On a somewhat related note, Afromoon notably retired
Mhm.
last week. Any thoughts on his retirement, the announcement, his career in general?
Yeah, it's like an end of an era. Alpharmu was someone that I looked up to when I was like a challenger player. Um, so it kind of sucks that he's gone. I think he was still good enough to play if he wanted to. But a lot of times, like sometimes orgs want to take a shot at like newer talent. Um, first of all, because they're cheap. Second of all, maybe like they have like a higher ceiling because you've seen everything that a veteran player has already done. Um, so yeah, like he was definitely good enough to stay. I mean, I hope he does well in whatever he does next.
Final question for you. You've obviously been playing the game for a while now, as
Mhm.
many people have, but there's a whole generation that we're still trying to get into the game. The majority of the content that I personally make is on TikTok, so it's a lot younger of an audience, many of whom are still trying to get into League of Legends or are a little bit scared to make that step into the game. What what makes you get up in the morning and still genuinely love the game of League of Legends? And what would you say to those that might be a little bit scared to try it?
You're assuming that I still like the game?
I
I
mean,
was just like, okay.
I go with everything with
Uh,
those rose tinted glasses off. Like I'm
yeah.
going in optimist Andy all the time because I feel like somebody has to at the end of the day.
I think because League is constantly changing, it keeps the game fresh, and that's kind of why like a new player might be able to come in and still be able to play, because the game is constantly changing from patch to patch, and you kind of have to keep learning the game. And that learning aspect is really fun to me, because you can like innovate different picks. I think for support, there's a lot of different picks that you can play right now, so it's a lot of fun to like experiment with the variety of picks. Some of them are less fun than others, but it's cool to be able to play the game and be creative while doing it.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I know you got another game tomorrow and a bunch of stuff to get to. So thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me and best of luck with everything going forward.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good one.